All right, so welcome back to the Winter Fancy Food Show right here with SFA News Live. And of course, we continue our coverage here on day 2. And we're going to explore some of the local cuisine. And with me today, I've got Matt, and great to have you on.
Thank
Matt
you very
Schuster.
much.
Tell us about your restaurant, Matt.
So we have a restaurant called Canela Bistro and Wine Bar. We're located very centrally in San Francisco on Market Street near the Castro neighborhood. We're a Spanish restaurant. We've been open a little more than 8 years.
That's good.
Neighborhood spot, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Congratulations
Thank
on that,
you.
because
Thank you.
that's tough business in San Francisco to stay open that long.
Yeah, anywhere. But yes, also here, yes, thank you.
Yeah, and okay, so your specialty, that's Spanish forward. Talk about your menu items and some of those interesting ingredients that you guys are seeing today that consumers are kind of falling in love with.
Well, Spain was a little bit late to the party. In the United States, you had Italy and France, cuisine showing up, right? And then came along Spain, right? So I would say, especially in the last maybe 10 years, maybe 15 years, Spanish cuisine has been more and more popular in the United States, where people's reference is not only if they had been to Spain or not.
Right.
Now the cuisine's coming here. More people understand what maybe eating tapas style is,
Yep.
or eating those flavors without maybe not necessarily having gone to Spain. So whenever you have something that's a little bit more familiar to someone, they tend to, I think, embrace it a little bit more
Yeah.
quickly.
Kind of picks
Right.
up the speed in terms of demand, and obviously that's shifting into the millennial audience, which is
Right.
probably a big category for you guys being here in San Francisco. That's like what this city is built on right now.
Right.
Is millennials.
Yeah.
So all right, so you look at specialty. All right,
Mhm.
so there's a tons of ingredients here at this show
Right.
that food service operators now are trying to find that one or two little items that could really spin a menu
Sure.
to help them grow. What do you look for as
Sure.
a chef that says, hey, I need to keep my menu moving forward?
Right.
My customers are always coming back looking for new, interesting dishes or flavors. What are you finding that's interesting?
So I'm always looking first and foremost for products from Spain. So cheeses, olive oils, meats. Certainly not everything's allowed here.
Right.
Right. And certainly some things don't make sense to get, like fresh vegetables.
Sure.
Fresh meats, things like that. So we get as much as we can from Spain to stay true to being a Spanish restaurant. And then everything else we get pretty much as local as we can.
Right.
So there's not a lot of in between. So I'm always looking for what we can get from Spain: new cheeses,
Yeah.
new spices, new
Keeping it authentic.
Yeah, things that are coming from Spain.
Yeah.
yeah,
And the customers that you have, your guests,
Right.
They're demanding those kinds of products, higher quality. Do
Sure.
you feel that customers today are kind of at a state now where they're ready to pay more for that higher quality?
yeah. People all the time, in the past or present, they always want to see a value. It doesn't necessarily mean they want to pay less per se, but they want to feel the value, right?
Right.
So if they're getting an ingredient that they feel is special, that is authentic, that is flavorful, then that is part of the thing that builds that value to them, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. All right, so at Canela, what would be one of the top dishes you guys are seeing? Like, hey, this is something that our guests just won't let leave.
As far as
Popularity.
As far as popularity, well, we do a lot of seafood. Spain is a huge consumer of seafood. So, the country's surrounded by water.
Right.
Right. So we do a ton of seafood, and that is something that people come to us for. We specifically started selling very soon after we opened the shrimp that we leave the head on and we leave the tail on.
Okay.
It's a very typical Spanish style to have it where you suck the head, and you're not really going to find that in many restaurants, but
Sure.
that's something that we do that is not unique in general to Spanish cuisine, but is unique more in the United States because it's just not typical
Right.
to get seafood that hasn't been fully broken down.
Yeah.
So that's one item. Traditionally, that dish, gambas al ajillo, is done with olive oil and garlic. We add in, to make it a little bit more interesting, we add in preserved lemon, we add in black garlic, We add in items that may not be traditional to Mama's kitchen,
Right.
but it makes sense in that dish and used with Spanish olive oil and garlic
Yeah.
and a Spanish style of cooking shrimp.
That really amps up the taste profiles, brings
Right.
them back for more.
Right,
Yeah, I
right,
like
right,
that.
right.
Are you going into Spanish wines as well in your
We
wine
only
side?
sell Spanish wines.
So,
In fact,
full blown.
we have about 80 different wines from Spain, and it's
Wow.
funny because
That's
we're
great.
we're in San Francisco. We're
You're
right
in wine
next
country,
to
yeah.
yes, we're right next to Napa and Sonoma. We have no wines from Napa or Sonoma because we want the flavors of the Spanish wines to go with the flavors of the Spanish foods. that
I
we're
don't
doing.
think that the Spanish wines get enough credit.
Well,
I'm a big wine connoisseur,
Yes.
and I am always impressed with some Spanish wines that I buy on an ongoing basis.
Oh yeah,
I'm blown away by them.
Yeah, if you haven't taken a trip to La Rioja in Spain, to the wine country in Spain, you have to do it. It will, like you say, it'll blow your mind. It'll just blow you away about what's going on up there. The practices, the organic growing, the natural fermentation processes.
Yep.
It's really, it's on the forefront.
Yeah, forefront of winemaking, for
Absolutely.
sure. And taste profiles, too. I think a lot of customer or guests today, people that love wine,
Right.
when they are pairing food, especially with something like this, a culture like Spanish food,
Right.
you really need that parity in those types of tones and taste profiles of Spanish wine to
Sure.
really kind of get the full experience, which is what it's all about anyway. So.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, those varietals have been paired with those recipes and those techniques,
Forever.
for
Yeah.
centuries. You
Yeah.
know, so I mean, that's why you have, you would drink a sweet wine with maybe a spicy
Yep.
Asian dish because they complement each other. Spanish food is not spicy at all.
Yeah.
So you don't really have those certain
Yep.
applicable varietals, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about
Yes.
two things. One is fusion menus.
Sure.
Spanish food is kind of the core of fusion. Why do you think we're seeing consumers that are really a kind of loving this whole spin on fusion right now?
I mean, honestly, I think the most simple way that I like to see it is that we all are fusion now, right? And fusion's a funny word because some people really don't like it, but how many people in your life are have mixed culture,
Right.
families, mixed culture?
A little bit of that recipe, a little bit of this recipe.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe their grandmother is French and their grandfather is from Nigeria. It's just it's more and more common that people in general are fusion themselves. So for us, certainly Spain has a very modern take on fusion cuisine. There's a
Right.
lot of really avant-garde, fantastic chefs doing molecular cooking that is been on the forefront for the last 20, 30 years. Not maybe as typically known outside of Europe, but so certainly Spain, today's Spain, has a lot of fusion cooking, but just for the fact that we're doing Spanish cuisine outside of Spain, we're
Right.
doing Spanish cuisine in San Francisco, we're already a fusion.
Yeah.
Like
Kinda
the
spinning.
vegetables aren't exactly the same.
Exactly.
The meats aren't exactly the same. The things that I get here are not exactly the same.
Right,
So
right.
we're already a bit of
Right.
a fusion. Yeah.
A little bit of that style.
Yeah.
I like that. All right, so last topic today, and
Sure.
that is kind of the challenge of the modern day chef.
Sure.
You being in California and a California operator,
Right.
You guys are kind of faced with some unique sets of challenges.
Sure.
What are you dealing with today?
Well, first and foremost is always staffing. San Francisco especially is an affordable city to live in for people who aren't making a biotech salary.
Right.
So cooks and servers and retail workers, whatever's left of retail, right?
Exactly.
Of brick and mortar retail, people can't afford to live here anymore.
Yeah.
Or maybe how they were living as a young age doesn't go as far with them now that they're aging. They want a little bit more space. They want a place to raise a family, and it's expensive here. So first and foremost, the challenge is always staffing. Everybody I know in the restaurant industry is always looking for one more person,
Yeah.
at least. So that I think is the biggest challenge.
Yeah, for sure. Labor continues to hit up. Matt, it's been great having you on today. Chef and owner at Canela Bistro and Wine Bar right here in San Francisco. Thanks for stopping in.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, so make sure and stay tuned right here. We're going to continue our coverage tomorrow here from the Winter Fancy Food Show. More great coverage on topics, education, innovation, startups. We're going to have it all. So stay tuned right here.